Hi everybody, and welcome back to Meditation and Mindfulness Mondays. And again, my purpose here is to give you a reason why, why meditation is a great habit to include in our lifestyles, into our daily lifestyle. So today's topic is going to be on our inner critic. We all have an inner critic, and our inner critic is our negative voice or the judgmental voice in our head that convinces us that we're not worthy or capable of doing what we really want to do. And if you think about, and I talk about New Year's resolutions all the time, and although I think New Year's resolutions are a great idea, if anything that gives you this little bump of motivation is always great, but we also know that that motivation has a tendency to dwindle over time. And that's another reason for this series. When we understand why we're doing something, especially before that habit becomes like part of us, it's really helpful to remind ourselves of that, to stay steady with the practice. So what does an inner critic sound like? It is the I'm not good enough voice in our head. And I'll give you some examples. I'm not worthy enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not wealthy enough. I'm not focused enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not attractive enough. I'm not creative, smart, experienced, loved, thin, tall, short. We have this voice in our head. And when we set an intention or a goal, we want to perhaps include meditation because it really is supposed to be helpful for calming our mind, which impacts our body, right? Or we want to eat better. We want to include more nutritious foods. We want to move our body every day. Our intentions are great, but our mind sabotages them with our inner critic. So where does this inner critic come from? Most of the time, it comes from an experience in our childhood or from our past. Something happened that disturbed us, or there was a message that was given to us often enough that made us believe that we weren't good enough in that way. And so what happens with meditation, the why we meditate, is because we begin to soften our attachment to those old thoughts and patterns and behaviors. We begin to create space so that we redirect, or we direct the mind where we want it to go. We direct it towards our intention, knowing that we can manifest that intention if we realize and create some space for the new thoughts and the new actions to take place. So one of the things our inner critic does is that it always emphasizes the negative, even in a positive situation. So it emphasizes the negative and downplays the positive. A couple of examples are, vacation was great, but I didn't get to go to my favorite restaurant. So all the other great things are kind of downplayed. And I remember that we didn't go to my favorite restaurant. I really like him or her, but he or she is not tall enough, short enough, whatever it is. Or the party was a lot of fun, but I didn't feel included. So you can see how the brain has that negativity bias. It wants to attach to the negative portion of it, of the experience. It kind of brings us back to what happened to us before. So we really want to start to change the voice in our head, and that's one of the things that meditation does. So one of the things you can do to kind of identify the negativity bias in your mind is how do you respond if somebody asks you how you are? Or how do you respond and when somebody asks you, how's work? So just something to think about, noticing how often we use the words but and always. So those are just things to kind of consider, perhaps even journal when you are considering changing the thoughts in the mind. And I do want to talk a little bit, one more thing, a quick myth about meditation. The myth is that we stop our thoughts and emotions from entering the mind. And that will never happen. They're always there to some degree. We have 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts that enter our mind in one day. So trying to think we can stop them is not realistic. But what happens with meditation is we direct the thought, we interrupt the old negative voice, we interrupt it and we direct it to our intention, so that we start to believe that we really do have the power and the strength and the confidence and the love and the joy and the experience and all the things we need to actually do it. So that it kind of concludes a quick blurb on why we meditate. So we start to soften our inner critic and we start to lessen our attachment to it. And who doesn't want to soften and calm the inner critic? I know I do. And I can also say that I know that I have done so through meditation. All right, so I'll see you Wednesday for our midweek mantra that will help us to stay on track when we are trying to manifest a goal or a dream. And I'll see you next Monday for another segment on why to meditate. Have a great day.